السلام عليكم. Welcome to my channel. مرحبا بكم في قناتي. The name of the channel is Learn Arabic with Dr. Elnoor. اسم القناة هو تعلم العربية مع دكتور النور. This video is devoted for the second part of the Hamza. In the first part, I talked about the Hamza seated on the Alif, and in this video, I will be talking about the Hamza seated on the Ya and the Wow. These two seats we will be discussing today. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and share it, like it, so you can have more content with this regard, the journey of learning the Arabic language. With that being said, let's discover what we have today for this video. Are we ready? Buckle up. So we are going to have kind of a bumpy ride. Let's see the Hamza. Just to recap what I have said for the previous video or in the previous video about the Hamza. So the Hamza is this little letter here. If Hamza is a letter, some people like disagree on that. But the Hamza functions as a consonant, as I said, is not as a long vowel, and also is produced from the back of the throat. And you say, that's the sound of the Hamza. And the Hamza has three different seats and could stand alone. So these three different seats is the long vowel alif and the long vowel waw and the long vowel ya. And as I said and as I mentioned previously, when Hamza is seated on one of these three long vowels, or these three long vowels will no longer be long vowels, will be like consonant, and the Hamza can sit independently by itself. So the third video will be about the Hamza being alone or stand alone Hamza. Hamza being by itself, not sitting on any of the long vowels. Let's figure out the Hamza. And before we figure out the seating for the Hamza, we need to remember the rules. And the rules here are actually one rule, but four different sets. The first one is the kasra, and the kasra is the strongest. The dhamma is the second strongest. The fatha, the third strongest, and the weakest is the sukoon. And this is the kasra here for those who have not watched my first video or my previous videos. This is the dhamma, and this is the fatha, and the sukoon looks like a little O. See the letter O? That's the sukoon. So we need to remember these in order. The kasra, the dhamma, the fatha, the sukoon has to be in this order. So when you have the kasra, always the seeding is the ya. And when we seed the hamza on the ya, we do not put the dots for the ya. That when we have the kasra. And when we have the dhamma brings you the wow as a seed. We seed the hamza on the wow. We don't, in case that we don't have a kasra, because if we have a kasra and the kasra is stronger than the dhamma, so the kasra prevails. So that's the rule. And also here sa'ala, and sa'ala is to ask, su'al is question, bi'r is a well. So sa'ala, the hamza is seated on the long vowel alif because we have the fatha here and we have another fatha. So two fatha. So but in the general rule is the fatha brings you the alif as a seed, the dhamma brings you the waw as a seed, and the kasra brings you the ya for the seed. The sukoon, we'll see the effect of the sukoon in the third video, not so much in the second video. Sometimes we have some cases, but noticeably will be the third and the last video about the hamza. So let's see the rules. So today is hamza with long vowels, ya as a seed. So we said that we are going to talk about the hamza seeding on the ya and on the waw. So this one is hamza seeding on the ya. Let's discover the rule. So when we see hamza on the long vowel ya, we do not put the dot. I have already mentioned that. When there is a kasra on the hamza or the preceding letter, so the rule here to remember is we only care about two letters, the hamza itself and the letter that precedes the hamza. we see the diacritics or the short vowels on these two letters. For instance, here we have the letter ba, and ba, the letter ba has the kasra. See the kasra, and the hamza itself has the sukoon. So the kasra is the strongest. So the kasra dictates the ya as a seat for the hamza. Bi'r, and bi'r is the well. As'ila, as'ila is questions. We only focus on the hamza and the letter that precedes the hamza. So in that case, the letter sin and the hamza. And as you can see here, the letter sin has the sukoon and the hamza has the kasra. So the kasra dictates the ya as a seed. So that's why we seeded the hamza on the ya. As'ila. Ra'id. Ra'id. So the alif, the long vowel alif always has the fatha. Because ra'id has the kasra, and the hamza has, sorry, the long vowel alif has the fatha always will have the fatha. If there is no fatha, it will be a hamza on it. So ra'id, ra'id is pioneer or military rank. It's major, the rank of major, also called ra'id. So the hamza has the kasra and the long vowel alif has the fatha. So the kasra dictates the seeding, which is the ya, and that's why we seeded the hamza over the ya. Ra'id. Kafi is sufficient or something enough. Kafi, we have the letter fa has the kasra, and the hamza itself has the sukoon, and the kasra is stronger than the sukoon, so the hamza is seated on the ya. So let's see some the hamza, the effects of, or actually one effect of hamza when there is a sukoon. So in terms of hay'a, fay'a, bi'a. And the rule is when hamza comes after the long vowel ya, see, here's the long vowel ya, long vowel ya here, long vowel ya. When the hamza comes after the long vowel ya with the sukoon, we have to seed the hamza on the ya. We have to, because here is the long vowel ya and the ya has the sukoon. See the effect of the sukoon? So this is the only case where the sukoon dictates the seeding instead of the kasra, because the kasra is the strongest, the sukoon is the weakest, but the weakest prevails here in this case. So you have the letter ya and the hamza. So the ya has the sukoon, ya being the long vowel has the sukoon, the hamza has to be seated on the ya. Hay'a. Hay'a is like organization or corporation. Fay'a. Also we have the long vowel ya, and the long vowel has the sukoon, the hamza has to be seated on the ya, as the rule says. Bi'a, bi'a is environment. Also we have the long vowel ya with the sukoon, and we have the hamza. We have to sit the hamza of the ya regardless of, because we know the fatha is stronger than the sukoon, but in this case we have the long vowel ya with the sukoon. The seeding for the hamza will be another ya with no dots, and that is the rule. Okay, let's move to the last one, hamza with the long vowel wow. So why we sit, or why we seeded the hamza on the wow here? Also, the same rule applies. The rule that says we only take a look at the hamza and the letter that precedes it. In this case, the letter that precedes the hamza is the letter ba, and ba has the dhamma, so bu, and then the hamza has the sukoon. So the dhamma is stronger than the sukoon, then the hamza has to be seated on the wow. Bu's is misery. Lu'lu is pearl, P-E-A-R-L, pearl, lu'lu. So we take a look at the hamza and the letter that precedes. In this case, we are going to separate this one word into two syllables, sorry, because lu'lu, two hamzas. So we separate it and we take a look at the hamza and the letter that precedes the hamza, and that is the letter lam. Lam has the dhamma, and the Hamza has the Sukun. The Dhamma is stronger than the Sukun. So the Hamza in this case has to be seated on the Wow as the Dhamma dictates it. And the other part also the same rule for this one applies to the second part. Su'al is question. We have to take a look at the Hamza, and the Hamza in this case has the Fatha, and the letter that precedes the Hamza has the Dhamma. So the Dhamma is stronger than the Fatha, then the Dhamma dictates the letter Waw as a seat for the Hamza. Yu'addi is to lead, like to lead to something. Yu'addi, also we take a look at the Hamza. The Hamza has the Fatha, and the letter that before the Hamza has the Dhamma. The Dhamma is stronger than the Fatha, so the seeding for the Hamza must be the Waw due to having the Dhamma here on the letter that precedes the Hamza. Tasha'um. Tasha'um is pessimism. Tasha'um, also we take a look at the Hamza and the letter that precedes the Hamza. So the Hamza has the Dhamma and the letter that precedes has the Fatha. The Dhamma is stronger, so and the Dhamma dictates the Waw as a seat for the Hamza. So that's why we put Waw as a seat for the Hamza. Tafa'ul is completely opposite of Tasha'um, which is optimism. Tafa'ul, the Hamza has the Dhamma and the letter that precedes the Hamza has the Fatha. The Dhamma is stronger, so and the stronger dictates. So pretty much like the survival of the fittest, that whoever is stronger survives. Except in one case, only when there is a Ya with the Sukun, the Hamza has to be seated on the Ya. That's the only case where the weaker or the weakest prevails or survives. But in general rules of the Hamza, the stronger or the strongest survives. That means if you have the kasra is the strongest, the dhamma is the second, the fatha is the third, and the sukun is the weakest or the last one in terms of consideration. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Shukran jazilan. Thank you so much. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like it, share it with family members and friends so you can get more contents as I upload these contents on the YouTube. Thank you so much. Ma'as salama. Bye bye. Peace.